I met Keshia. She was a student in one of our classes, and she was a new employee for the city of Dayton. And you could tell something was different about her. She was, a very bright person. And so Phil had introduced me to one of, all the employees there. And so Keisha was asking me questions about basic water treatment. And I was really impressed that her background is toxicology, but she was like a sponge. She wanted to learn all she could about this whole water treatment field. So that's how I kind of first met her. She was one of my students, well, not one of my students, one of my students from OTCO in one of our classes. So she ended up contacting me and said, Curtis, I think I'd like to teach. She said, I'm not an operator, but I want to help people. So Keshia actually came to us, and I talked to Phil about her background. And the neat thing about Keshia was that although she wasn't really an operator by professional trade, she highly respected the operators. So she was a good educator in that manner, is that when she would go ahead and explain something from the book, or she would go investigate how it works, she would always grab a professional from the field. So the reason that the operators like her so much, because she respects them. Whether they barely got a high school diploma and got out of high school, or whether they got a master's degree in a certain field, she treats them all the same. She respects their individuality and what they bring to the table. So she's been an excellent instructor. In fact, I get people who request her, not just with the city of Dayton, but people outside the city of Dayton, because she bends over backwards to help them out. So when it came time for a position on my board, of trustees, and her name was brought up, I don't decide who's on my board. My board members do. There's a vetting process. She was brought onto our board, and she brings a totally different perspective to my group of operators, because most of my people are in operations, and some of them may have some background in laboratory, but Keisha's at a different level of her college research that she did. And so she's always wanting to make sure that we don't forget that we don't become intellectual snobs, is one of her favorite things. She said we have to learn how to respect people from no matter what they do in the profession. If they're working in the water field, the wastewater field, they're contributing if they're there. They help you out. And that's why people like her so much. Because currently she's vice president of my board, I believe. Yeah, yeah. And so she's really highly respected by my other board members.
And how long has she been on the board now?
She's probably in her 4th year now. I got to double check and see. So she'll be president next year. She'll be president, which is, who our board is, we're the Environmental Training Center for Region 5. So my board of trustees is not only peers, water professionals, wastewater professionals, like Keshia, but the Ohio EPA, Ohio Department of Health, Ohio Board of Regions, because we're the only vocational school in Region 5 of US EPA that does what we do. So putting her as president of board is very, I'll really be pleased to see where she takes us. Right, and the board members have to be diversified. Some of them have a strong distribution background. Some of them have a strong pre-treatment background. Like with Board of Region, she's over Career Options Plus for entire state. So she puts us in the high schools and the vocational schools. Keshia brings that laboratory perspective, but always trying to make sure that the common operator there can understand the level of complexity it is, but break it down for them. So we have them from everything. We have professional engineers that are on there, but the overriding theme of being on my board is you have to be a certified operator, and that's what comes in. So Keshia brings this level of, I don't know, this professionalism that she has working in that research area, but she doesn't. You wouldn't know that if you ever met her. You just thought she's just another person that you'd meet. Yeah, she's got a certification, but I've never heard an operator say anything negative about her at all. Well, she was doing things on toxicology when we first met her. She came from the sector where, I think, I was Wright State or whatever college she was working on, but she was doing brain tissues and things like that. And she said she got tired of that kind of work and decided, well, I want to do something else. And she said her husband saw this advertisement in the paper for a job at the city of Dayton in a water lab. So she applied for it and got it, and she kind of fell in love with this field. But on my board, because research stuff kicks in. She's the only one that's got that kind of background. So when they're doing stuff on harmful algal blooms and HABs, and they're talking about all these kind of studies, Keshia's right there. And she's able to turn to my board and break it down for them, because we're not necessarily ever been to that level of research that she's done. Oh my gosh. I mean, she's never let us down, and I mean, she teaches classes. I mean, she's tutored people, and our board, she's always the one that wants to make sure that everybody's on the same page. You know, whether it's I got some board members that's from little villages and not even 500 people, and they do everything. And they got out of high school, became a maintenance person. Now they're superintendent, and most of the things they learn on the job. Keshia can. I'll give you a good example. When the city of Warsaw, it's a little village over over in the Amish area, was worried about how to do their lead maps. Keshia with the city of Dayton is over here with the same issues, and she's sitting there trying to break it down how easy way he could do his map, so that he wouldn't have to go out and hire a consultant to do it or looking for someone else. So she's always giving herself in some way, shape, or form. Or she's talking about the minimum staffing requirements going to be going on, or the changes in requirements to become an operator. She's always sitting there with the board members and trying to see how can I help you do that without having you to spend extra time or spend extra funds somewhere else. She's honest, and she is what she is. I mean, there is no, like she says, when she was working in research, she said she had a bunch of intellectual snobs at times she worked with, and people got full of themselves. But she's just Keshia. I mean, our board. So she's a very real person, I guess you could say, and always wanting to learn from somebody. She doesn't come across, because she could come across like being a researcher, that this is kind of beneath her, because drinking water treatment, basically like day-to-day operations and laboratories, pretty cookbook. But she has a way of understanding the chemistry behind what we do, or the microbiology behind what we do. But then with her access to the research community, she brings some lot of nice players to our table. Oh yes, I do. She got the Mealich Award, and the first full-time director of OTCO was Richard F. Mealich, and so when Richard Mealich was retiring, he dedicated his career to operating in Ohio once he retired from the city of Columbus. When he was retiring, I wanted an award named after him, because everybody just thought Mr. Mealich was Mr. Otko. And so he got the first award called the Richard F. Mealich Award. And what it's for is for someone who's given themselves tirelessly to the field of water treatment by educating and outreach. I mean, you don't have to be paid to do it. You do it because you love the profession, and Keshia got that award. Yeah, so she has one, and it was and she didn't think she would get one, because she figured I have to be an operator to get that, because everyone else that got that award was an educator, but also a real operator and the like. But her peers, including myself, I've got one, said that no, she definitely deserves one. It's the third highest award you can get in the state in a water profession. Yeah. Oh yes.
Fantastic.
It's big. It's a big award. Oh yes. Oh yes, and let's face it, her being a woman, her being a minority, lets other people see that I can get involved, because sometimes, and I feel when people look around, when you want to get diverse people in the field, they're looking for a peer or somebody in the field. So Keshia being there, she don't have to say anything. She's never even say anything like that. When a young person, I go around to the high schools, or I go around to the the places, and they want to get in the field, and the young lady people ask me, are there any women in the field? Oh yeah. I bring up Keshia quite a bit, and I'll say, yeah, I'll give you her phone number, you can call and talk to her. And so she never turns down talking to a student. No, I know that Keshia, like right now, there's a bunch of changes in the rules and regs are coming through, and Keshia being, again, I got to go put that researching level. Sometimes she'll challenge the EPA, because we're not of that ilk. We're almost end users, being utility superintendents and water superintendents. But Keshia will challenge the research, and right now she's got some things which you think is not cost effective, or the studies doesn't really have a significant health impact. Why are we doing it? Because she's on several committees. She's on the Research Foundation Committee, for Ohio EPA and AWA, and she's kind of a go-to person when people are asking questions about, does this sound like sound science, or the methodologies we're doing these testing, is it feasible? Are we going to get really good credible data out of what's going on? We'll all turn to Keshia because of her background and say, well, that sounds logical in your sense of the world. She's very successful. And the thing is, I don't measure my instructors by how many people get certified. I measure my instructors how a superintendent, maybe a Mansell, will come back and say, they went to that class and they better understand how my plant operates. And they may have exam phobia and they can't pass it, but every one of Keshia's students will tell you that she spent extra time. She came early to class, or she came, later in the evening. She tried to break it down so I could understand it. But Keshia's students have a very high success rate in passing the exam, because I tell people, I'll never see a state exam, because by law we're not allowed to see it once we're certified. It's against the law for us to see it. We can go to jail. We really can't. But we tell people, and teachers take the philosophy, if I teach you all the theory, you can sit there and problem solve and think about what's going to be the best answer. Because they're multiple choice. It's usually 4 or 5 choices. You can usually rule out 3 of them. So then you're down to the 2.
Yeah.
So that's what so her students have a really good success rate of understanding water treatment better versus going, well, I passed the exam. I got everything I need to pass the exam. That's not her attitude. She wants you to understand, and that's probably from a research background too, and in her personality. She wants you to walk away with an understanding.